Pink Friday. Pink Friday is the debut studio album by Nicki Minaj, released on November 22, 2010, by Cash Money Records, Young Money Entertainment, and Universal Motown Records. Musically, it is primarily a hip-hop, pop, and R&B album that incorporates elements of electronic music. It arrived after years of mixtape grinding that had turned Minaj into one of hip-hop's most talked-about names before she'd released a single commercial project. The album features guest vocals from Eminem, Rihanna, Drake, Will.i.am, Kanye West, and Natasha Bedingfield. Pink Friday debuted at number 2 on the U.S. Billboard 200, selling 375,000 copies in its first week, which marked the second highest sales debut ever for a female rapper. After weeks of being blocked by Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, the album eventually climbed to number 1 in its 11th week on the chart. I'm the Best opened the album with the confidence of someone announcing themselves to the world, and Roman's Revenge featuring Eminem brought two of hip-hop's most technically gifted lyricists together in a chaotic collision. On the other hand, pop radio moments like Right Through Me, Your Love, and Fly featuring Rihanna showed she wasn't limiting herself to any single lane. Super Bass, added to the deluxe edition, peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became the song that introduced Minaj to an entirely new pop audience, with its bubblegum production and infectious hook. In 2022, and Rolling Stone included Pink Friday in their list of 200 greatest hip-hop albums of all time at number 31, stating that the album proved you could own the charts without dialing back your confrontational individuality. Pink Friday, Minaj's debut studio album, became the first solo album by a woman rapper to go platinum in 7 years. It was nominated for Best Rap Album at the Grammy Awards and laid the foundation for everything that followed. Pink Friday, Roman Reloaded. Pink Friday, Roman Reloaded was released on April 2, 2012, and shifts away from the introspective tone her debut had and into having fun, with an almost complete division between hip-hop cuts and dance-pop anthems. It peaked at number 1 on the U.S. Billboard 200, and after moving 253,000 copies in its first week, went double platinum with the RIAA. The album was named after Roman Zelensky, Minaj's most flamboyant alter ego, an aggressive, over-the-top British villain she had first introduced on Pink Friday. The opening half of the album leaned hard into rap aggression. Roman Holiday performed live at the 2012 Grammy Awards in one of the era's most theatrical performances, showcased Minaj in full theatrical mode. Come on a Cone, HOV Lane, and Roman Reloaded featuring Lil Wayne showed her still capable of destroying a beat with pure technical skill. But the album's second half took a sharp left turn into pop and EDM territory that divided fans. The album's lead single, Starships, peaked at number 5 on the Hot 100 and reached the top 10 in multiple other countries. Pound the Alarm became a summer festival anthem, and while Beauty and a Beat with Justin Bieber and Turn Me On with David Guetta pushed her further into dance-pop crossover territory. The album received mixed reviews for genre shifts, but went on to achieve worldwide success, topping the charts in both Canada and the UK, making Minaj the highest-charting female rapper on the UK charts. A November reissue, the Re-Up, added 7 new tracks including High School featuring Lil Wayne and Freedom. Critics were split on the genre whiplash, but commercially the album proved Minaj could dominate pop radio on an international scale. The Pinkprint. The Pinkprint is the third studio album by Nicki Minaj, released on December 15, 2014. Departing from the dance-pop elements of her previous album, The Pinkprint is driven by Minaj's traditional hip-hop roots. Thus, after the commercial dominance of Roman Reloaded, Nicki stripped things back and made the most personal album of her career. Minaj stated the album's lyrics touch upon themes of her family, loss, death, and her struggle with guilt. The Pinkprint opens with the autobiographical song All Things Go, described as a sequel to Minaj's song Autobiography off her Sucka Free mixtape in 2008. The opening track addressed an abortion, a failed engagement, and the loss of her cousin, subject matter rarely broached with such directness in mainstream rap. The Pinkprint is Nicki Minaj's magnum opus, a love letter to her supernova star power and hip-hop radicalism, her teeming brain and her body electric. Anaconda became one of the most talked-about songs of 2014, now with its bass-heavy production and cheeky Sir Mix-a-Lot sample generating massive cultural conversation. Anaconda peaked at number 2 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100, becoming Minaj's highest-charting single at the time. Feeling Myself with Beyoncé became a fan anthem of female confidence, while Grand Piano, I Lied, and The Crying Game showcased a vulnerable, emotionally raw side of Minaj. Only featuring Drake, Lil Wayne, and Chris Brown and Truffle Butter kept the hip-hop fire burning. The album debuted at number 2 on the US Billboard 200 chart with 244,000 units in its first week. It was certified double platinum and received a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Album in 2016. Critics widely regard it as her most cohesive and fully realized work. Queen, after a 4-year gap, Minaj returned with her 4th studio album, released on August 10, 2018. Queen melds hip-hop with trap, reggae, and pop. Prominent guest appearances include Eminem, Lil Wayne, Ariana Grande, and The Weeknd. The album arrived amid enormous expectations after Minaj had spent years as the undisputed queen of female rap, but also during a period of intense public scrutiny and feuds. Chun-Li and Barbie Tings had been released as lead singles earlier in the year, with Chun-Li announcing her return with hard-hitting production and sharp, aggressive bars. The track's self-assured declaration of dominance, drawing on the Street Fighter character's invincibility, felt like a direct response to anyone who had questioned her position in hip-hop. A string of hits was spawned from this album, and including Chun-Li, Barbie Dreams, and Pfeff. Although the production was highly credited, to some critics, the 19-track album was incredibly long. Barbie Dreams became a fan favorite, with Minaj playfully dissing a parade of male rappers over a Biggie interpolated beat. Bed, featuring Ariana Grande, showed her pop chemistry was still intact, while deeper cuts showcased trap influences and dancehall flavors. Minaj's 4th studio album, Queen, debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and was certified platinum by the RIAA. The album's commercial performance satisfied without setting new records, and critical reception was mixed. Many praised her technical gifts while questioning whether the bloated tracklist hurt its overall impact. Still, Queen cemented her longevity at a time when a new wave of female rappers was emerging. Pink Friday 2. Pink Friday 2 debuted at number 1 on the US Billboard 200, making Minaj the first female rapper in history to have 3 number-1 albums. It earned over 228,000 album equivalent units in its first week, with 92,000 coming from pure album sales. The album arrived 5 years after Queen and functioned as both a sequel and a victory lap. Pink Friday 2 comprises a variety of sounds fused primarily with hip-hop, R&B, and pop. Lyrical topics include grief, mental health, self-doubt, self-confidence, achievements, motherhood, and other present-day reflections. Minaj drew heavily on her experiences since 2010, the highs of becoming rap's most dominant female voice and the personal costs that came with it. Super Freaky Girl from Pink Friday 2 debuted at number 1 on the Hot 100, not becoming the second solo song by a female rap artist to do so since Lauryn Hill in 1998, and earning Minaj her 3rd overall number 1 single in the US. The song's sample of Rick James's Super Freak made it instantly accessible, while Minaj's delivery kept it razor sharp. The album's 22-track runtime welcomed guests from Drake, Lil Wayne, J. Cole, 50 Cent, and more, while sampling Billie Eilish and Blondie alongside classic soul and funk records. It sold 25,000 vinyl copies, the highest figures for a rap album by a woman since Luminate began calculating vinyl sales in 1991. Pink Friday 2 was the best-selling female rap album of both 2023 and 2024 in the US and was certified platinum by the RIAA on March 19, 2024. And critics noted the album wasn't a radical reinvention, but rather a confident expansion of everything that made Minaj great: her technical precision, her humor, her emotional range, and her refusal to be anyone but herself. Playtime is over. Before any of those studio albums existed, Nicki Minaj built her entire reputation on mixtape streets. Born in St. James, Trinidad and Tobago, she lived with her grandmother until the age of 5, when she joined her mother in Queens, New York. She eventually transitioned into music, working as part of a group called the Hood Tars in the early 2000s before going solo. In 2007, she was discovered by Dirty Money Entertainment CEO Big Fendi, who found her demos on MySpace and signed her to the label. At Fendi's suggestion, she took on the stage name Nicki Minaj. Playtime is Over and Sucka Free introduced the core hip-hop community to her multi-layered delivery, rapid-fire rhyme schemes, and unpredictable vocal shifts. These tapes generated underground buzz and featured appearances from Lil Wayne, Gucci Mane, and Jadakiss, signaling that the industry's biggest names were already paying attention. Beam Me Up Scotty, Beam Me Up Scotty is the third mixtape by Nicki Minaj, released on April 18, 2009 by Young Money, Cash Money, and Dirty Money. This was the project that changed everything. The tape is credited with helping to distinguish Minaj as a popular female figure in a male-dominated genre. Minaj said that with the previous mixtapes, much of the attention was focused on her image, and with Beam Me Up Scotty, she made sure the focus would be on her work. Tracks like Itty Bitty Piggy, I Get Crazy, and Envy showcased her at her most theatrically unpredictable, switching accents, speeds, and personas mid-verse in ways that left listeners rewinding constantly. According to one writer, Minaj's ascent came as rap made by women seemed to be on the decline. The number of women signed to major labels reportedly went from more than 40 to just 3 between the late 80s and 2010. After her arrival, Minaj became a singular figure in music for almost a decade. The mixtape was re-released on streaming platforms in May 2021 with 3 new songs including Seeing Green with Drake and Lil Wayne. Beam Me Up, Scotty sold over 80,000 equivalent album units in its first week and debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, the highest charting re-released mixtape from a rapper and the highest debuting female rap mixtape in Billboard 200 history.